Welcome again to your August STEP Talking Circle. Before we jump into today's agenda, let's go ahead and get disclaimed. Oh, shucks, sorry. Looks like I'll be reading it today. So this disclaimer, this presentation was produced under the U.S. Department of Education contract number GS00F115CA with Synergy Enterprises Incorporated. The views expressed herein do not necessarily represent the positions or policies of the U.S. Department of Education. No official endorsement by the U.S. Department of Education of any product, commodity, service, or enterprise mentioned herein is intended or should be inferred. And now that we've got disclaimed, let's just go through the agenda. So today we're going to be doing some APR, talking about APR updates. Also, we're also going to talk about your grant award notification or your GAN. Then we're going to have a discussion about preparing for this next year and also upcoming events. Excuse me. I'd love to introduce you to your new program officer, Linda. Hi, Linda.
Hello, welcome everybody. And I will be taking over this program from Donna Bussell, but she will still be helping me behind the scenes a little bit, get familiar with you all in your grants. And I really look forward to working with you.
Awesome. And I am Olani Lily. I am your OIETA coach. I'll be facilitating a portion of today's agenda. But now I'm going to turn it over to, I think, Linda to go through your APR updates.
Linda, I think you're on mute.
All righty, thank you. So let's talk a little bit about, do you need to submit an updated APR or are you good to go? So in your APR that you submitted, if you reported 999 for some of your measures in section A, then yes, you will need to submit an update at the end of the year with what those actual numbers are. You will change your 999 to your actual measurement. If you submitted an incorrect number or a number that needs to be changed in section A, then yes, you need to submit an updated APR with the correct information, just so we can be sure we're all on the same page and that you get credited for accurate data. And then if you submitted all your correct information and you had good data in section A of your APR, and none of your scores were reported as 999, then you do not need to submit a new APR update and you will be ready to go. Excuse me. So if you do have to update your APR with new information, be sure to email that to me. And I've included my email address there because G5 is now closed. APR updates must include all measures that you reported as 999 in your spring APR that you submitted. And be sure that you complete the required form ED 524B section A, which is where that information is located. And then we also encourage you to take a look at the optional section C tool. Although it is not a required tool that you submit, it does lay out very nicely of everything we will go ahead and need for you. There are links to those forms in the slide deck there if you need any of those to go ahead and update. And this is the 524B section A. where you list all of your performance measures on the different objectives of your program, and then also any GEPA measures that you might have. So you just go ahead and copy and paste those from your grant application and report your data on those in that section. And then as far as APR update reminders, you'll need to submit data for all of your GEPRA objectives and your project objectives. But remember, at this point, it is too late to add any new objectives to your goal, but all of your activities have to support your original objectives. So you will be updating the objectives that you submitted in April. So this is an explanation on where we would actually need raw numbers and where we would need those ratio data. And remember that GEPRAs are only reported in ratio, and then your project goals should go ahead and reflect how they were written, that those should match. And then those updated APRs are due to me by October the 26th of 2023, and they will be submitted to my email or as a form. So those are all right there to you. And now I'm going to turn it over to Donna, who will be talking a little bit more, giving you a little bit more information.
Hey, everybody. I already sent out those of you who wanted a no-cost extension in STEP. You already have your GANs for that. There will be an upcoming FPR webinar, I believe in November. So we'll discuss more of what those no-cost extensions are and what they look like. And this doesn't apply to the Cheyenne and Arapaho tribes. You guys are in year 2. We only had 2 out of the 4 of the 3-year grantees who are requesting a no-cost extension. So all of you have that information. You may go forward. The final performance report for those of you who are ending September 30th and those of you who will be in a no-cost extension, it is due 120 days after the last day of your performance period of the grant. And that last performance day is on the GAN, but I will send out some letters as well that will show that the exact last day that you will have to turn in a final performance report. And there is a FPR on YouTube already that Synergy has done a while back, but we'll have a new one, like we said, a new webinar November 2nd. And we'll look over the GANs. Linda, am I doing this one?
Yes.
Okay. Your GANs, those of you who have just received your GAN for your no-cost extension, or if you're in year 2, verify that the project director and level of effort on block 5 are correct. And that's just because sometimes G5 spits out something different than what we put in, so make sure that's correct. If it's not, just email Linda or myself and we'll go into G5 and fix that for you. We can go to the next one. Your year 2 grant award in block 6 is going to have your budget period dates. Now, for those of you in no cost extension, the only thing that is changing, you don't get a new budget period, you don't get a new amount of money. You are just extending this year 3 out. So the date will just have 2024. That's the only thing that's changing. So there's not a new amount of money. It's just using what you have in this year and just extending that time out. And there's the authorized funding below from this action means this scan that you have, this budget period, and then the performance period is the entire lifetime of the grant. We can go forward. So your carryover, and this is for your Cheyenne and Arapaho tribes. Your carryover is your carryover. We don't have really, we have an idea of what it might be, but it's not always in G5 because you may have funds that you haven't drawn down yet to cover expenses. So any year one funds remaining on October 1st in the new fiscal year are considered carryover funds. If those funds haven't already, they may still be in there, but you may not have drawn down those funds either for any year one expenditures. So keep that in mind. Just because it's there, it may not be for year two. It could be for expenditures that occurred in fiscal year one, just not drawn down yet. And that carryover money is yours. It's there. Any potential budget cuts would be reflected in your GAN, and there wasn't any, but being mindful of that as well as you move forward. As you move forward with this year, just really have a good budget planned out so you can use those carryover funds plus whatever you have on your GAN. And this is your year two budget, whatever carryover you have, whatever was awarded in your year two GAN, that's your year two budget, and we will ask for those budget revisions in November. Block 10 is any grant conditions, and this is good for everyone. And when you're getting a GAN, always look at this, of course your budget, but always look at this as well, because if there are any grant conditions, it will be in this block 10, and really go over this. And if you see anything in this block, get a hold of your program officer as soon as you can to set some time aside to go over what that means and how to make sure that you are in compliance with whatever condition is on your GAN. Your year two budget revisions are going to be due November 16th. No cost extension as well. I mean, you already turned in your revision, but if you need to revise your budget throughout the year, even your no cost extension year, you guys know that all you have to do is get with your program officer. And I will turn this over to Olani.
Thanks, Donna, and thanks, Linda. Some great information. Again, just to get you ready and prepared for either your no cost extension, your final performance report, or for Cheyenne Arapaho, the continuation of your grant year. So now, as we are ending one year and moving on to the next, we really want to look at, I know many of you already use the continuous improvement cycle and are professionals at it. You've embedded this cycle into the operations of your program, and has really been really evident in like your APR, your explanation of progress of how you are using this improvement cycle. The first step is really to define, excuse me. Sorry about that. Okay. So here we go. The first phase is really to define your goals with your program team. Much of this work was done already in your grant proposal. Again, for those of you who have been at this step for a while, I know many of you are using this, and you have gone through several iterations of defining your goals. Also, you want to make sure that you are implementing with fidelity. That's really important to make sure that you know, what you say you are doing is actually what you're doing, so that when you get the data, you can attribute it to the activities or strategies that you're using. The third step is to really collect that data, and it will vary, but it's very important for you to create the tools that are going to give you the data that you that you want. And after you collect that data, of course, you're going to analyze it. You're going to look into that data and look for what it's telling you as it relates to either your program implementation. It could also reflect, you know, your data methods of collecting data. Sometimes we do assessments or surveys and we develop questions that we think are going to answer the questions that we are asking. But after collecting and analyzing the data, we may be changing those. Also, that data analysis might also help you decide maybe some tweaks that you want to make to your actual program the And then, of course, once you've analyzed this, to look at how you can use that data to improve the quality of your program. And then you go back again into that cycle and redo, maybe even relook at your goals, relook at the implementation of your program and strategies. Again, I know many of you have been using this throughout your STEP grants and have been iterating as you go through your years of the STEP. And so after you have maybe, you've done your APR review, you are gearing up towards the end of the grant or the end of the grant year. And so we wanted to take a little pause to sort of think back on our APR. And as we get ready for our updates, to think forward around that and ask ourselves some questions. Did you reach your goals and objectives? Which goals did you not reach, and what kept you from reaching those goals? And then the next bunch of questions is, what did you learn from your APR, and did anything in your APR surprise you? And then the third sort of bunch of questions is, what steps did you take after your APR, and what data collection and analysis did you do this year other than your APR? And so let's just go. I'm going to open it up, open up come off of mute, and please share any of your responses. Let's take the first bunch of questions. Did you reach your goals and objectives, and which goals did you not reach, and what kept you from reaching those goals? I know you can probably answer that all together. Anyone who want to come off of mute and share?
This is Roxanne with the Mashpee Wampanoag Tribe, and in our STEP grant, one of our goals was to have an education program after school with our elementary children, and we actually were able to do it the first year. We had a 3-year grant, and our grant expires in September 30th of this year. However, we were unable to recruit teachers to man the program and go through the professional development and training to understand how to not only use the materials, but to use the management system. So it was quite disappointing for us, but we will keep at it even after the expiration of the grant, because we do have the materials and the management system, and it's still an expectation that we have that we can do reading and math with our children after school specifically.
I mean, hiring teachers has been, hiring anybody actually has been a challenge across the board. And I know a lot of people have tried to get really creative about how to fill that gap. And I mean, I love that you're still committed to the program beyond the grants.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to share regarding that sort of first set of questions?
This is Allison from Rancho
Hi,
Ria.
Allison.
Hi. We had to pivot on our goals because of the issues. We were attempting to get Native American teachers certified as CTE teachers. And while we had lots of interest, we did not have enough people that met the criteria to be in the program. And so because our program was structured to recruit retrain and retain educators. And we did a little bit of each, but we never achieved what we really had wanted to initially, because it was just unachievable with the lack of Native American high school teachers. So
Yeah.
we focused on our other objectives, which were retraining teachers and retaining teachers. So working with our LEA partners, we sat down and said, well, what can we do to do these things? Scheduled several more retrainings programs. And we actually have one coming up September 30th on various curriculum. And we've done everything from programs for administrators on safety and trauma and wellness, and working with new administrators coming into buildings to develop social emotional learning rooms for our students. So that's been helping on the retraining aspect of like not just sending a kid off to detention, but sending them to the social emotional learning room to help them work through the issues they're having. So that worked out well on the retraining aspects. The retention aspect of our program, we just had a meeting on this last Thursday, because we've been in discussion since March trying to negotiate the tuition costs. But we're going to be, from all the surveys we got back from the teachers in the 31 districts, they were reluctant to implement the new curriculum that we had created, or they're worried about the new curriculum that's coming out, that's a statewide curriculum for Native American studies. And they felt unprepared by their teaching programs to discuss Native American cultural topics and Native American studies topics that's coming in the new curriculum.
Wow.
So a lot of discussion went down with the American Indian Education Chair at Cal Poly Humboldt. And we are now putting the teachers, we're getting this organized for K-12 teachers to take Native American Studies courses so that they will be prepared to discuss the topics and handle the new statewide curriculum that's coming that we are a part of developing. So we had to pivot, but that's what you do with the whole continuous improvement cycle, right? You do the plan, you check, you check back on it, and when it doesn't work, you have to adjust. So we had that structured in our program concept that we were going to recruit, retrain, retain. We just had to pivot on who we were recruiting and who we were training and retaining because of the lack of high school teachers eligible to become CTE teachers. So if anything I could say out there to people, really collect your data and your surveys, because it can help you pivot when you need to. But that's what's going on with our program.
That's awesome. I mean, I think that's amazing how the work you were doing around the curriculum has now really infiltrated the teacher education program, and that's now becoming a part of that program. That's a great outcome that was maybe unanticipated.
Well, a lot of it was unanticipated because we did not know that Assemblymember Ramos was planning on pushing for a Native American statewide curriculum to be adopted for California. When we had originally written this grant, that only came about in the last 2 years. And because Humboldt County in our area, we have 55 tribes in Northern California, with 8 of them in our county alone. We have been working with the Center for Tribal Innovation and Entrepreneurship, which we started with Humboldt County Office of Ed, since our 2018 NYCP grant, and then our STEP grant the following year to establish our tribal education agency. And because of our work with them, they worked with us and the Yurok tribe and applied for the grant to get the statewide curriculum, and we got it. So with the San Diego County Office of Ed and Humboldt County Office of Ed, they have Southern California, we have Northern California, and we're working with the 55 tribes to develop the curriculum. And it's a statewide curriculum, but that has individual modules for their tribes in their area to be implemented. So everything it was like lightning hitting all at once. It was wonderful, but you have to be flexible in your design and your mindset. Are we achieving the goals we set out to? I didn't get my CTE teachers, but now I'm getting all teachers trained to implement the new curriculum, which increases LEA capacity. So that was one of our GEPR measures, right? So
that's great. That's great. I love it. I mean, congratulations. That's a huge I think that's a huge thing to have that be happening statewide. So congratulations.
Well, one other thing that came from this, so it says like, what kept you from reaching our goals and
Yeah.
what did we learn from it? What came from it is we need to grow more Native American teachers, straight out.
Yeah.
And so we applied for the Native American planning grant, Native American Nations Planning Grant from AmeriCorps, and
Mhm.
we got it.
Oh,
And so we
congratulations.
are spending this year planning a grow your own teacher program with Cal Poly Humboldt and AmeriCorps, so that we can then have a 4-year program that will put more Native American teachers in the classroom through their
Fabulous.
operational grant. So if anything, what came from the STEP grant was a whole bunch of data that said, we need more Native teachers.
Yeah.
And then that is propelling us towards bigger and better things. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, congratulations on that new grant and that new project. And again, like you said, that data, collecting that data to identify the need and developing a program, a whole new program. Congratulations. Awesome. So moving on to the questions, again, a lot of things to like celebrate, even in not reaching goals. Sometimes people think that when you don't reach your goals, that it's a negative, but as you can see, a lot of positive twists and turns can come from not maybe meeting fully your original goal. Sometimes maybe the path is a little circular and it kind of takes you off in another direction that you hadn't anticipated, but there's lots of successes that can happen on that different path. And so I guess the next set of questions is like, what did you learn from your APR? And again, I'm guessing that you are gearing up for your APR updates. And then as you're doing that, did anything surprise you in either the APR you submitted already, or as you look forward to your APR update? Is there anything in your data that you would be sharing in your APR that surprises you?
Olani,
Yes.
this is Allison again. I wouldn't say that anything surprised us after because we've been collecting the data all along.
Right.
Other than the fact that school districts across the area not all of them have an equity department or an equity plan in place for in being able to work with tribes. We are right now developing a tribal consultation policy. So something that which surprised me was that not everybody knew that they had to consult with tribes, and especially for their Native American students, and they don't have Title VI programs. There are actually several school districts in our area that have a large number of Native students and no Title VI program. So that was something that surprised us, which is, I was like, well, if you have the XYZ number of students, why don't you have a program?
Right.
So working with our contractor, we are now attempting to get those school districts on board, adopting a tribal consultation policy and getting them to apply for the Title VI program formula funding.
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Allison. Anyone else? Something that maybe it was through your collection of data that you would have inputted into your APR, maybe something like Allison's example popped up for you that surprised you? If not, we can move on to the next set of questions. What steps did you take after your APR? What data collection and analysis did you do this year, outside of your APR? I mean, I guess one of my other questions sort of as part of this is, I mean, do you see, like, is your APR like embedded in sort of your data review process, maybe operationalized within your program, within the larger, I guess, landscape of your program? Because I'm sure that this is just maybe one piece of your pie as it relates to the work that you're doing, and how are you sort of embedding or operationalizing the APR into your larger program efforts?
I don't want to take up all the time talking here from the grantees, but I will say for Blue Lake Rancheria, when we sit down with our evaluator and we have our plan, and then I expense things, contracts and whatnot on our tracker, I track things with the GEPRA number or the project, a goal, so I can monitor whether or not we're making any progress. If I have no expenditures under goal 2, like why, what's going on with that? And so, yes, I do utilize the GEPRA and the project measure numbers on my tracker, so that I can monitor that and cost versus, plan, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's
Yeah.
one of the things we do.
yeah. That's really interesting, Allison. I think that you connect, your expenditures, that's a data piece you look at, right? Is the expenditures as it relates to either your GEPRA measure or your project measures. And then when you see like there's no spending happening, around a particular measure, you question it.
Yes, because when we had the contract with Sonoma State for the CTE certifications, I'm like, why haven't we been billed for anything? And they're like, well, this person didn't qualify, that person didn't qualify, so we didn't admit them to the program. And I'm like, here's all this money I have encumbered in a contract and I'm waiting to get bills and things. And I'm like, where's the money?
Yeah.
And that's how I knew things weren't going right, because there was nothing being spent.
Yeah, that's really, I mean, again, that's an interesting sharing, because by asking that one question, all these other pieces of information sort of bubble up, right? As to why funds weren't expending because people aren't qualifying, which then leads you down like, well, why aren't they qualifying? What can we do? So I think that's really great to sort of utilize expenditures as a part of the data that you are reviewing, and connecting that to your measures. Anyone else have other ways in which you are, excuse me, maybe operationalizing or embedding the APR into sort of the larger work you're doing around, the larger work that you're doing, period? If not, then we'll move forward. So we really want to sort of get you folks thinking about about how this year went and how the impacts of planning for the next year. I know some of you may be ending your grants or also be looking for an NCE, and we'd like to discuss these 3 things. What new things or activities, processes do you want to start in this next year? What things, including activities or processes, do you want to stop as you move from this year to the next? And then lastly, what activities or processes do you want to continue doing in this next year? And we can just open it up. If you can just come off of mute and share what you want to start. Maybe in collecting your data, you found that like Allison, they need to make a shift. And so they started to work on another aspect of their project or their goals. Maybe you want to stop something. Maybe there's something that you were doing that's not working that you want to stop, or maybe adapt. And then what was working well, and you want to make sure that you continue that.
So this is Carl. I think for us, it's really looking at long-term sustainability and how do we continue these partnerships with the local district, over the long term without the grant funds. And we've been doing that, building that relationship and scheduling professional development between the two of us as part of one of our Get Permit goals. So it's just, trying to loop more people. So when we do PD, we have other people from the tribe that attend the PD other than myself and Esther. And
Yeah.
so, when things change at the end of this no cost extension, perhaps my job duties change, perhaps I retire, I don't know.
Yeah.
But how do we continue those relationships? And then as far as the school goes, it's doubled in size. We just started school
Awesome.
2 days ago. So then it's like, we need to do some, what are our goals 5 years out, and
Yeah.
how do we continue? How do we have that long-term strategic plan? So we did start putting together a strategic plan. So to carry on some of this work over the long term, regardless of the funding source. So we're planning our exit, in a way,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's just shifting those activities over to more long-term sustainable positions within the tribe.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's really key to think about, like you said, planning to exit, right? And thinking about what that will look like, and how you embed practices and into different positions, into different operational, maybe norms or traditions, policies and procedures, all of those pieces. And I think it's great that you're looking at the rethinking a strategic plan and planning out for 5 years. That's awesome.
Yeah, a lot of it's relationships. So it's just like
Yeah.
expanding those relationships to more people, and then adding that structure that
Mhm.
can be just repeated every year. At certain
Right.
times, we're going to do PD with the district, regardless of the grant funding source.
Right, right. Yeah, because then once you sort of nail that down, right, then it helps you to maybe look for that funding source or look at other ways in which you can do that sustainably,
Yeah,
which may or may not, maybe relationships, but also maybe relationships and funding or relationships and resources. That's awesome.
yeah,
Are
yeah.
are you guys getting accredited, or are you going through accreditation, or have you?
So
Okay.
this is just our second year, but
Yeah.
there is an accreditation process here with the school district, and they do have an outside accrediting agency that comes in and works with the school. So that will happen.
Yeah.
It's just, we're just trying to get our bathrooms up and running.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Get our
hear you.
turnaround spot for the buses, and
Yeah.
if you think
Yeah.
about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we're
Yeah.
kind of still working on feeding and getting people there. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we're a K-12 school, so we definitely have an opportunity to be accredited.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're building out our STEAM. We probably doubled our CTE courses that we're offering, and
That's awesome.
yeah, so it's coming along. It's just looking at like long-term sustainability, and
Yeah.
how do we continue
Yeah.
that affiliation in the
Yeah.
future.
Yeah. The reason why I bring up accreditation is, and I know it's early for you, but is because all of those different pieces that you mentioned are sort of can come out of accreditation, and it can be a plan that you can sort of put a stake in the ground and have the whole, really brings people around for what you want to achieve in the next 5 years. Plus, you get a little sticker that says you're accredited after
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Just thinking about the timing for that,
Yeah.
I think it's probably, appropriate
5
to
years.
start that process probably in January, February of this year, just start introducing it. Our staff is doubled, and we do, so building capacity and then trying to not burn people out. But because that accreditation process does take,
Yeah.
a lot of extra effort on top of,
Yeah.
marching the kids back and forth between two buildings to use the bathroom. So
Yeah, totally,
Yeah.
totally. Awesome.
It's definitely something that will happen. It's
Yeah.
just trying to find the right time and space to do
Timing.
it is important.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah. Anyone else? What do you want to start, stop, or continue? In this next year?
Oh, this is Allison from BLR again.
Hey,
What I would say is starting / continuing, because we're doing it with a different school district this time. We are continuing our tribal consultations with the various school districts, and we're ramping them up, making them a little, not just a once a year thing, but a more frequent thing. And partly what we're doing is also expanding our Modern Youth Internship Academies program that is designed underneath the STEP grant. We implement it with funds from other grants, but we do all the design and legwork for organizing things behind the administration, behind the scenes. And last week I negotiated a new program we're going to be piloting for a Grow Your Own teacher program starting in 9th grade. And the student will be placed at Hoopa Elementary School, helping K through 3rd grade, K through 3 reading and math as a near peer age tutor under the guidance of one of our other programs, new principals at that school. So we have a Grow Your Own Administrator program. And one of our champion mentors has now been made the principal of Hoopa.
wow.
And so she is going to be the mentor for that high school student that will be employed at the elementary school under our other grant, doing that near peer age tutoring. And we're piloting to see how this goes. And that high school student will be prepared to take, by the time this year is done, will be prepared to take the paraprofessional exam they'll be 18, they'll take that and they'll be able to become a para-educator while they're working on their teaching credential after they graduate in our 4-year program that we're designing. So that's something that we were doing, but then the Modern Youth Internship Academy, but we tweaked it, added a new industry cluster, which is the Education, Early Childhood and Family Services Industry, CTE sector. So that's the new part. We added that sector, but we're continuing the Modern Youth Internship Academies, but now we're at a new school. So 2 new things with a continuation.
Yeah. Awesome. I love that. We had just, we're doing the Native American Language Resource Center. We had just interviewed a student for our podcast who graduated from a Native language immersion school. And she is back in teaching in the preschool classroom and hopes to go to college and now get her teaching degree, but also has dreams to be an administrator. And so I think that's a really interesting pipeline that you're creating, and that, you know, we actually got to talk to a student who was going through that. Not that there was a program set up, but her own life journey, and how she wanted to give back and work back in the school. So I think there is something there definitely about growing your own. And I know there are several programs that are going down into 9th grade and wanting to like grow that teacher from the 9th grade. So it'd be interesting to see how that sort of all works out and the successes of those programs and impacts.
Definitely. And the one good thing is that this STEP grant, because and I'm going to say this is resiliency from failure, right? Because we failed in getting the CTE teachers, we did have a list of 50 people that wanted to become teachers, 16 of which have already signed up to be in our Grow Your Own Teacher program. Now I just have to get the funding for the Grow Your Own Teacher. But I've got a list of 16 people that we've already vetted through the STEP program that can then go on to get their actual teaching credential first. So yeah, making lemons from lemonade, making lemonade from
Yes.
lemons, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's, I mean, we know how to do that. For sure. Awesome. Anyone else? That's awesome sharing, you guys. Thank you. If not, we can move on. This is really us asking you folks how we can best support you in either the year 2 of your grant or during your NCE. Both your program officer as well as your OIE TA team really want to know how we can support you during this time. And we're always looking for ways in which to make our resources, our webinars really relevant and rigorous and meeting your needs. And again, I think Sarah put in, feel free to think outside the box. So we'd love to hear from you.
So Carl from Connect Tribe, I'll throw this out there. So it's the NCE for us is kind of also encompasses a transition period.
Mm,
So transitioning from one funding source and one set of GEPRA measures and to another, being prepared to transfer over at the end of December.
mhm,
So there is a potential, and I'll just throw this out there, being full disclosure and transparent, there's a potential that a portion of one of our either ESSER or my salaries could be pulled from another grant during the next 2-3 months, which would then free up some of those monies that are the work would continue, or 50% of the salary might be a blended fund from another fund. So right now 1.0 FTE during the course of the next 3 months. Let's say it's me and not Esther, although it could be Esther and not me. One of us becomes 50% FTE from this grant and 50% FTE from another grant. So I'm just wondering, I don't want to run into any problems after the fact, but we have to be a little bit nimble and flexible during this transition period. So I'm just wondering what everybody's thoughts are on that.
I guess I'll pose that question and offer that up to maybe Donna or Linda, if you have any thoughts first on that.
Donna had to leave because she has other meetings that she had to attend.
Sorry.
I don't really have any advice, but I do know that is the heart of the programs that we do, is seeing the sustainability and the ability for you all to keep on going after we leave. So I'm excited to hear that some of you do have some built-in sustainability plans, and others are seeing the importance of your work and seeing the need for it to continue. So it's exciting work.
Yeah. Thank you, Linda.
Yeah, thanks. I didn't realize Donna left. Maybe that's a good thing. But yeah, so we'll work out something, and it's just, we have to look at, over the long term, regardless of funding source, that we continue the work that we're doing.
Yeah.
Carl, I understand the whole being pulled into other programs and such, and all I can say from a point of view of logistics, and you probably know this, but just be really careful with splitting your time appropriately and allocating your hours to the grants that you work on, just so that you have a clean audit, and you have to do the after the fact reconciliation of your timesheet to the various grants and allocate your time appropriately between them if you're going to be splitting your cost objectives that you're doing. And while one can help support the other, because sometimes my work is that way, just be sure that you allocate it appropriately, because I mean, we get audited every year. And that's one of the tests that our auditors do. They want to know how I allocate my time. And I've got my calendar color coded between the grants, and I write detailed notes and tracking. So we've never had an audit finding on it, but I'm split funded between like 7 different grants.
Yeah.
So just be very
Yeah.
careful.
Yeah, time and effort. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And, you know, in my past life, we did that. I mean, we were very vigilant about it. So it's not as systematized in this current position, in the current organization that I work in, but I think they're getting there. And sometimes the audit helps you get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you need any help or you want me to send you a sample of my split funded time card that might help you, I'll send you anything you need. You know that. You can always reach
Yeah,
out to
no,
me.
I appreciate you're always there for us. So thank you. Yeah. It'll be a conversation that, you know, over the next month or so, I need to have with the finance director and see how that's what plan they have in place, what support she may need to do that. And if they don't have, you know, the ability to do that kind of seamlessly, then I'll reach out to you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Well, and Carl, it kind of sounded like maybe part of your question, and correct me if I'm wrong, was as far as like, let's say that it's you that becomes split funded, that if then part of your NCE no longer consists of charging 50% of your salary, not wanting to leave that money on the table, if it could still be utilized.
Yes, definitely. And yeah.
Yeah. And I think you have, you know, a number of options as far as, you know, just because you're in an NCE doesn't mean you couldn't revise your budget and plan. So if it ends up that 50% of your time is being pulled into another grant, you could look at a couple of different things. If it's a matter of it's just a new funding stream, but your position stays the same, then you might look at some of your other programs and how you can, you know, maybe do a bit more there to be able to fully accomplish all of that. But if it's a matter of, because of this new funding stream, some of your role and responsibilities is changing, you may find that you need some assistance in still doing what was definitely a more than full-time job that you currently have, plus this new grant responsibilities. And while you would not really want to hire someone just for your NCE period, I think that would be pretty challenging to hire for. You know, it might be an opportunity to have someone do some extra duty time to be able to help you complete those additional responsibilities. It might be a consultant piece that, you know, maybe you want to utilize an evaluator or your evaluator to help more with reporting. So there's definitely ways. So I think as that progresses, you know, maybe set up some time and we can always brainstorm and really look at how to make the most of the budget that you have left.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I think you hit the one scenario that you mentioned. Basically, my position and my duties will pretty much remain the same.
Mhm.
Be split funded with another funding source, and that would open up money to put more towards some of the other GEPR measures, you know,
Yeah.
other
Look
than
at, you know, professional development,
Yeah.
maybe some additional recruitment of teaching staff, something with like your work-based learning.
yeah, building capacity with the charter school and the school district is one that,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Starting up the charter school, you know, is expensive. So there's things
Yeah.
for.
Really?
Yeah. They don't, you know, it's funny because it's like, okay, so you're starting a school from scratch, but we're going to give you the same amount of money that
Yeah.
we would give a school that's existed for 50 years.
Yeah, that's just continuing on as is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that has facilities and everything else.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. That's helpful.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Well, and I do have a completely unrelated question, but that I am dying to know. Have you selected a mascot?
Yes. So we're like 99% there. we had it to go before the council in May, and the students and the staff, the students, parents, everybody had a vote, surveyed and back and forth, and it was the Northern Lights was going to be the
Oh, cool.
best. Yeah,
Cool.
so I think that's a great idea because it's not necessarily a depiction of an animal or anything. I would have preferred like an animal, but you know, that's what it goes. And so the Northern Lights was the top vote getter. And so the tribal council gets a little word on it. Hopefully next Friday when they meet quarterly.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's the
Okay,
Northern.
so by the time we see you in October, hopefully y'all
I'll
are
be
the
wearing
Northern
them.
Lights.
I'll have a Northern Lights tattoo. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. I
Mm,
gotta mark that with something substantial because it's been.
I know,
you
because it's been such a
yeah.
process. And
Yeah.
I'm loving that another option Esther said was Bigfoot. That's amazing. Because I heard some of y'all's options going along, but I had not heard the Bigfoot one. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad we avoided that. And the hooligan was the other one.
Yeah, I knew the hooligans had come up before. So
Yeah.
yeah, so sorry, off topic, but I needed to know the outcome of the mascot.
When we see you at NIEA, hopefully we'll be
It'll be
wearing
all set.
new logos.
Perfect.
Awesome. That's exciting. That's exciting. I think that's a great piece, though. I mean, really thinking about, you know, how we can support grantees in NCE to sort of make that transition to other funding sources, to embedding the program into the regular, you know, to the normal program, different ways in which you can transition. That's an interesting, I think, piece that we could think about as it relates to supporting you. Anyone else have ideas about how we can best support you either in the next year? No? Okay, well, that's not the end of that sort of query. We'd love to hear, if you leave this talking circle and an idea pops in your head, please email us at oie@seiservices.com. We're always open to hearing how we can better support you. Make sure that we can be partners in your success. And whether it's, you know, now that, you know, you have a grant, NCE, and setting you up for success when when your NCE period is complete. And so we just want to put that out there, and don't feel like this is the only time you can share with us how we can support you. One of the ways we do support you, though, currently is your STEP Padlet. Let me grab the link. I'll put it in the chat. This again has updated information, forms. It's just sort of like a warehouse for information. So if you're ever like, maybe you're doing your APR and like, wait, I need that Section A form. Where do I get it? You can go to your Padlet and pick it up there. Also, if you want to put a note in there to any of your fellow grantees, or like, I know you folks share, you know, information, you share tools, you can always go ahead and share that with each other in the Padlet as well. I was wondering if there were any questions, and it could be on anything, and nothing in particular or anything at all. Okay, if not, then we will go ahead and let me open up the end of event survey. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Sorry, my throat is really sore. Also, we have, you should have received an email from Julian. Each year during this time, we distribute a grantee satisfaction survey to all the members of each grantee team that have participated in any TA event. And so maybe you have project members who come to like the PD meeting, they will also be receiving the survey. We really want to encourage you to complete the survey. The information from this survey gets used to develop our TA topics and any kind of support that we will be providing in the following year. We would really appreciate if you just taking 5 minutes to complete this short survey. Again, this helps us make sure we're meeting your needs and providing you another avenue in which to provide feedback. If there have been any changes, we really appreciate it if you would email us any, contact information changes. You can email us at oie@seiservices.com. Make sure to include the name, role, and email address so we can update our email list. Grant program updates. So any email changes and additions, like changes in project director or certifying of official, budget revisions or budget questions, make sure you send that to Linda, and there's her email right there at the top. If you want to connect with your OIE technical assistance team, there are 2 ways you can do that. You can either contact us at our email, or Casey, thanks Casey for putting in all the links. You can also schedule some coaching time one-on-one. They are normally 1-hour sessions, but sometimes depending on the topic, we can do multiple hours. And there's that link for our Calendly. You can go ahead and schedule. That's a great way. That link is a great way if you want to have a discussion and some brainstorming around, how we can support you during the NCE and any kind of support as you transition out of your STEP grants. Also, please remember that you want to schedule a mandatory meeting for a fall check-in. And there is the Linda's Calendly. You can go ahead and click on that in order to schedule that time. And let me grab that. Hold on. I'll put this link. Oh, sorry. Let me go back.
I'll pop it in for you if you
Thank-
go back.
Thank you. Okay. Then our upcoming events. So we have office hours coming up on August 24th and September 21st. That September 21st is actually a week. Usually we have it on the 4th Thursday of each month, but in that September one, it's on the 3rd Thursday. So just a heads up, if you see that and you'll be like, wait, it's on the wrong Thursday. It is actually on September 21st. Also, we will be having the final performance report webinar. Donna had mentioned that earlier, coming up on November 2nd. So if you are going to be submitting a final performance report, then you might want to attend that. If you are on your NCE, just know that webinar will be recorded and then uploaded to the OIE YouTube site. So when you are finished with your NCE, you can always sort of access that information at the YouTube site. Also, you're more than welcome to attend, even if you are in an NCE, maybe just to get your brain wrapped around what kind of information you need and you can be preparing in that year. The next STEP Talking Circle will be in October. We will give you the actual be sending out invites come prior to October, but we don't have that date confirmed yet. We want to thank you folks for attending. Again, you can see we've included Linda's email. If you have any questions and you want to reach out to her, there's her email. You can also reach out to us at oie@seiservices.com. Thank you for all of your wonderful sharing. Again, the STEP group always has some great sharing and of information and learning from each other. I want to thank you all for attending today. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you maybe at office hours. Aloha, take care, everyone.
Aloha.